On mute. All right. Got some other folks coming in here. Get about 2 or 3 more minutes. Get about 2 or 3 more minutes, and we'll get started here on our presentation. Got a lot of folks that are logging in. All right. Put mute all on that one. There we go. All right, got the mute on to avoid that background noise. Still got some other folks coming in here. Give about a minute or two. All right. All right, it's about 4:30. Yeah, you gotta account for the folks. Some folks are probably still trying to download the Zoom app. I chose Zoom. Zoom is the easiest thing to use. Sometimes we use WebEx or other things, but Zoom is so easy. It's easy to use on your phone. That's why I chose Zoom. All right. I have put everyone on mute. Just want to make sure, since I put everyone on mute, if you can still hear me. So make sure if you can still hear me. All right. Somebody put in the chat box, can you hear me? If you can hear me, type yes. All right, perfect. All right, let's go ahead and get started here today, everyone. Once again, pretty much everyone, you know who I am. I'm Anthony Sampson, pretty much your tax professional. And there's been so much changes that have been coming down the pipeline from the administration to, who's going to get the $1,000 per household. Everyone's waiting for that check. How's it impacting businesses, small businesses, impacting nonprofits and so forth like that. Most important thing, before we even get into all the details, I just hope everybody their best. I hope everyone is safe and healthy. And if you've contracted the virus, our prayers and thoughts are with you. We pray that you have a speedy recovery and can definitely get back to being healthy in these times. But let's kind of go through what we're gonna talk about a little bit today. Change my slides over here. Can everyone see my slide? You can see my slide. If you can see my slide, type yes. We're gonna talk a little bit about today about how the COVID-19 is impacting your taxes. There's definitely been some changes to the individual filing deadline of your taxes. And the thing is, too, I know a lot of you are watching the news, watching CNN, but they're not really providing the full details as to what's going on in the world of taxation. The world of taxes is not something that's reported on CNN or on the news. So, of course, we're going to talk about the filing deadlines and the changes that's impacting everyone. We're also going to talk about for the business owners. I've got a lot of small business owners that are on this call right now that have employees, that have team members. And with business owners, there's 3 levels of legislation. You've got the federal level, then you've got the Department of Labor for the unemployment insurance, and then you've got the Department of Revenue. So there's some different changes that are coming out from each agency or taxing authority. I want to make sure I share that with each one of you. And then also to just the operation of your business. What do you do if you're essential employees, contract the virus or something like that, or paying your employees during this time? So we're going to talk about business operational and how that's going to impact your business. The webinar is not going to be too long. Hold your questions until the end. We've got a section just to take questions, and just to kind of, eliminate the background noise. Everyone, you can go ahead and type your questions in the chat box. And when we get to the question section, I'm going to just start reading those questions and doing my best to answer it and work through that. So let's go ahead and get started here. Let's start off with the changes to the filing dates and the additional filings. There's definitely been some changes, and also for small business owners or just business owners in general, there's some additional filings that are now part of your requirements based off the actions you're taking right now during this crisis that we're in right now. So let's talk about this. First up, we've got the individual federal income tax return, all right, your 1040, your federal tax return. The due date now is July 15th, 2020. So April 15th is now out the door, the due date for your personal federal. Keep in mind, federal. So I've got clients that are out there in Florida. You know, this is the only date that's a concern to you because Florida doesn't have state income taxes. But the actual federal due date, your 1040, is due on July 15th. Notice I got an asterisk over here because it's different for the states. And I've got a slide here where I'm going to talk about the states in further detail. We're going to go on that. Now, remember the thing that I would normally do with you folks is I would, do your return and we'll kind of see how much you owe. And then, if the due date, is April 15th, give you some time to come up with time to pay your taxes. Now, the payment, the actual payment of your taxes are also due on July 15th for the federal taxes. Keep in mind, right now I'm just focused on the federal right now. I'm not talking about the state of Georgia, Alabama, New York. I'm not talking about that. We're just focused on the federal right now. But the payments are due, so no penalties or interest or anything like that is going to accrue during this time until July 15th. And then, of course, if the return is not – now, here's the thing, too. If you need additional time, if July 15th is not a good time for you, I'm not sure if they're going to be extending the October 15th deadline. I'm not sure about that. But if July 15th doesn't work for you, you still need time to gather your documents and get everything organized, then, we'll file an extension, and, but I'm hanging my hat on October 15th being that due date. Now, here's the thing. Let me click on mute all here. We still got some folks here. No, we should be good. Now, here's the thing. The IRS currently has all their essential workers working right now. Okay, so my clients, I've still got clients that are getting refunds right now in the midst of this crisis. So if you believe you're going to be getting a refund, and I know I've got a backlog of some returns I've got working through right now. I had a client call me last night. We're working through those returns, getting those done. But still, get your information to us. Get on the portal. Get your information to us because they're still processing refunds. They've got their essential staff, their essential team members working. So definitely get your information to us so we can definitely process that refund. The government wants you to get your tax refund, and they want you to go and have that money in your hands. So just because the deadline's been moved to July 15th, you still want to get that return file so you can definitely get that money back in your pocket. Now, let's talk about here. Let me move this over here. Let's talk about the impact on the quarterly estimates. Now, I've got some clients that are making quarterly estimated payments, right? Those of you folks that have got to make the quarterlies. There's been no guidance. Nothing has been issued regarding the change in your April 15th, your June 15th quarterly estimated payments. So, and that's the thing. More and more guidance is being issued down the road. Every single week, there's more and more guidance being issued. So in this case scenario, if you could afford to make your quarterly estimated payments, make it. Now, I've got some clients now that are in offer and compromise situations. If I'm actively working on your offer and compromise, that's where we're selling the debt with the IRS. And definitely the October, the April 15th deadline for making your quarterly estimate payment. If you believe you can't make that, let me know. Now, for the folks that are in the offer and compromise situation, for those folks, this is kind of the best storm for you if you're in an offer and compromise situation. I say that because the worse the economy, the worse the things are. If I'm working with the IRS or the state of Georgia to settle some debt with you, some tax debt with you, this is really good for you in your situation to get that debt resolved. So if you've got a large balance to the IRS, you want to be in a position definitely to be pushing forward with your offer and compromise to get that file now, because definitely because the way how the economy is right now with the COVID-19 virus is something that's great for you. All right, for my offer and compromise people that are on the line here. All right. Now, let's talk about the status of the states. Now, this information, like I said, it's changing rapidly. I spent all last week trying to keep up with the changes. That's why many of you haven't heard too much from me. I've checked in with some of you folks, but you haven't heard too much from me because so much changes have been taking place. But this is what I've got as of Friday at 12 p.m., the status of the states. Now, the states I mainly operate in, the states that I mainly have clients are in Alabama, Georgia, and New York. And I got clients in Florida, but, Florida doesn't have a state income tax return for personal individuals. Now, these three states that I mainly operate in, they haven't changed their deadline. Okay? April 15th is still the due date for state income tax returns. That's what the challenge is. So you're hearing on the news, you're hearing on CNN and stuff like that, oh, July 15th is a new deadline for taxes. Not the states. Remember, the states need the money. The states definitely need the money, and they want their money as quickly as possible. So if you've got a state return obligation. Now, here's the thing. If you want to wait till July 15th, we're going to need to file an extension for you. So you're going to need to reach out to me, let me know about that. And then also too, I don't think they're going to be extending that October 15th deadline past that. Now, some states outside of this, now many of you clients are very ambitious and entrepreneurial. You go out there and earn money in various different states. I got a client that's an electrician that goes to various different states and stuff like that and earns some income. So if I'm going to pull up on the slide here, this is the information that I've got here as of Friday regarding the states, these other states. Let's go ahead and switch screens out right here. I'm just going to run this down. These are the states that have actually proposed some legislation. So Iowa, California, Indiana, Maryland, Connecticut, South Carolina, Oregon, DC and New Jersey are planning to put some legislation out on changing their actual date. And there's some details in here. You could definitely, we could talk later about going over the details later. But the state of Georgia, as of today, the state of Georgia has not changed their April 15th deadline. So if you need an if you want to, if you're thinking, okay, July 15th, I got to worry about it, who knows? They may not issue anything like that. So we may need to file an extension due to the state of Georgia. All right. All right. Business tax files. Where are my entrepreneurs at? Where are my business owners at? Where's my business owners at? All right. There you go. I see you. I see you, Michael. I see you, Michael. My business owners. This is listen up closely for my business owners. All right, so Georgia Department of Labor, most of my business owners are in the state of Georgia. So the Georgia Department of Labor, here's the thing now. If you find yourself in a position where you are decreasing your staff's hours, right? So in the abundance of caution, Georgia Department of Labor has closed all their locations due to the COVID-19 virus. But if you find yourself in a position where you are having to cut back hours due to the COVID-19 virus, there is now a new filing that is required by the Georgia Department of Labor. Because in this case scenario, if you lay somebody off or something like that, they can't go to the Georgia Department of Labor to file an unemployment claim, right? You, as the employer, now have to file the claim for them, okay? You, as the employer, have to file the claim for them. So now, since you have to file the claim now for them, and here's what's going to happen. I'm going to take you to the site, and let's walk you through this. There's some eligibility requirements of those who have to file that claim for them. Let me pull this up on the screen. All right, so let's kind of read through this real quickly. You may submit, if you've had to let go of some staff or you had to cut back hours, and also too, for you folks that are employees, if your job, yeah, you're right, it's not just for employees. If your job is cutting back your hours, you want to go back to them with this information. Let them know, hey, this is what you need to be doing for me because I can't make it to the unemployment office. So you may submit, so here's what it is for the eligibility requirements. You may submit employer-filed claims for full and part-time employees who are temporarily laid off or whose hours have been temporarily reduced because of lack of work due to the COVID-19 virus. Employees must be expected to return to work when the COVID-19 emergency ends. They must be United States citizens or non-citizens, or if they're non-citizens, they must be authorized to work in the U.S. Now, these are the people that you do not submit claims for. I repeat, these folks you do not submit claims for. So if you've got folks that are on vacation right now, if they're using their vacation pay, their PTO, if they're using their vacation pay, you're definitely not going to submit a claim for them. If you've got folks that are employed through a staff agency, maybe you're getting some folks from a staff agency, no, you don't have to go ahead and submit a claim for them. If they're working at your business and you file a staff, they're getting them from a staff agency. If they were employed in another state in the last 18 months, let me kind of zoom in on this right over here. So if they're employed in another state, well, I zoomed in too much. If they're employed in another state in the last 18 months, also too, if you've got folks that were employed within the federal government or active military service in the last 18 months, it's saying do not submit a claim for those employees. Now, 1099 contractors, I know many of you small business owners, you operate off with 1099 contractors. You don't want to pay them payroll taxes. That's why, right? You don't want to pay them payroll taxes. That's why you got them as 1099s. There's no claims that have to be filed for those 1099 contractors. Now, if the employee voluntarily quits on their own, that's it. Beyond a file claim. Hey, if they just say, hey, you know what? I'm not coming in anymore. That's on them, right? They made that decision. Now, we're going to talk about leave of absence. We're going to talk about leave of absence, or if they're self-quarantine. We're going to talk about that in a minute. So if you've got employees that actually contract the virus, or maybe they're being quarantined right now, we're going to talk about those. Or if they've been, and now here's the thing. If you had to permanently just, let that employee go, if you had to permanently just shut that employment position down, then absolutely, then you don't have to file a claim for them, right? Now, here's what happens if you do not do the filing. So if, let's say you've got, Bobby John working for you, and Bobby John's not going to work the 40 hours this week. It's going down to 15 hours this week, and you do not file this claim for Bobby John, look what's going to happen to you. If you do not file this claim, you will be required to reimburse the Georgia Department of Labor for the full amount of the unemployment insurance benefits paid to that employee. Ouch. So if this thing goes on for 2 months, however long this thing goes on, and that employee is entitled to get some unemployment insurance, and you do not file this claim, you will be required to pay those benefits back to that employee, right? And I don't want to see you all in this position creating another liability for yourselves. So reach out to me, definitely, give me a call, or we're going to talk about a way how to schedule some appointments here to make things a little bit organized. But if you find yourself in this position, definitely reach out to me regarding this. All right, let's talk about payroll tax filings, right? And everybody wants to hear, what's the biggest tax that employers hate to pay? It's paying payroll tax. I know that for myself. Every employer hates to pay payroll taxes, right? So payroll tax filings, there's been no guidance that's been issued on whether you have to pay payroll taxes. So let's talk about that for a second here. So there's been no guidance been issued on that, and there's no extension that's been issued regarding the payment of payroll taxes. So but now here's the thing though. If you find yourself in a position that you're not able to pay your payroll taxes and keep your business running during those difficult times, please reach out to me. Congress is making provisions for business loans to cover payroll for your employees. So now we're going to talk about this. The SBA is allowing you to have low interest loans available. There's some low interest loans that are available. The SBA is making available to small business owners, right? And there's some portions to it, there's some details about it where they can forgive the loan in the event that you keep that employee on payroll. So if you're having to borrow money from the SBA for working capital loans, the government is willing to forgive that loan after a certain period of time with the fact that if you keep those employees on your payroll and things of that nature. There's it's a lot of ramifications, a lot of details around it. But if you find yourself in a position where you're saying, okay, do I pay my payroll taxes, or do I pay my employee, or do I pay my payroll taxes or keep this business going? Reach out to me. Talk to me about that. All right. So there's an impact on the payroll tax payments, and there's been no relief for the April 30th deadline. So as of today, March 22nd, 2020, all your payroll tax returns are due on April 30th. There's been no guidance issued around the delay of that. Now, let's talk about worst case scenarios. All right. What do I do if I'm having a hard time keeping my business running? So if you're having a hard time keeping your business running, keeping up and running during this season, let's talk about that. All right. So what if your employees can't work, right? What if your employees, and we call those critical essential employees, right? What if your employee gets quarantined, right? And they can't come in the office or something like that. They can't come into the facility. Or what if they become sick? Now, here's the thing what the government is doing now. There's something called paid sick leave credit is available. Okay. So if you pay your employees while they can't work due to illness or them being quarantined, you can have that pay refunded by the federal government at $511 per day, up to $5,110 for a total of 10 days. So now here's the benefit about this, right? As business owners, we don't like paying those payroll taxes, right? You hate when I reach out to you on the first of the month and say, hey, those payroll taxes are due in 15 days, right? Now, if you pay the employee the paid sick leave credit, right? If you pay that employee and they're sick or quarantined, you will not pay any payroll taxes on the federal side. I'm not talking about the state of Georgia or the state. So the Social Security, the Medicare, federal unemployment tax will not be due on these wages. So you need to let me know if you are paying your employees while they're sick. There's paid sick leave credit available. There's a special credit I need to claim on your payroll tax return. I need to claim that credit on there so you can have that credit on there. So please let me know. It's up to $511 per day. So if they're making $20 an hour or whatever that is, or $200, $200 a day if they work 10 hours, etc. Multiply that out. We'll do the math. We'll work it out. But it's up to $511 per day, and that's very generous. So you can use up to $5,110 per employee. And these are things too, folks. And for the ones that are not business owners, if you're an employee, If you find yourself in a position where you are sick, go to your employer and ask for these things. Ask for paid sick leave. If something like that happens to you, if you get quarantined or something like that, I want you to use this information because your employer, they may not know. They may not know about these credits. They just may be thinking, oh, just cut staff, cut hours, just save the business. No. If there's paid sick leave, if they're sick, talk to your employer about this too. It's not just for the business owners. Now, another thing too, there's so many daycare centers that are being shut down right now, right? So if your job is still having you come in, I've spoke to a lot of my clients, even up to my clients I spoke to last night, he still has to go in. He works at a manufacturing facility. He still has to go in during these troubled times. So if you find yourself in a position and your employees can't work or your loved ones can't work due to them contracting the virus or due to school closure, there is a child care leave credit available. So the child care leave credit is up to $200 per day, up to $10,000. So you've got $10,000 pretty much essentially that is set aside that can be used as a credit towards paying the employee. So go ahead, if you pay that employee out, what's going to happen? You can get refunded that money from the federal government. Now, as we talk about, there's so much legislation change that are coming out. I do not know when and how quickly you will receive that payment, right? So the IRS is definitely working to get some guidance out within the next coming weeks as to how quickly you can receive that. So if you're paying out employees and you're using the paid leave sick credit or the child care leave credit, there's some information that's going to be coming out from the IRS within the upcoming weeks regarding how promptly you can receive that reimbursement back. And now, same thing too, just like the previous credit, there is no payroll taxes due on the child care leave credit as well. No payroll taxes due on that. All right, we're almost done. Now, if you find yourself in a position, I was just speaking with a client last night, and she's saying with all that's going on, her landlord is telling her to keep the business open. I mean, it's crazy, right? Her landlord, same thing too. My wife and I, we own a small business. They're still saying, yeah, business open for usual. Business is not open for usual. Clients are canceling their appointments. They're not showing up. So start making those necessary arrangements now, folks. Start having those conversations with your landlord and with your vendors regarding, prompt payment for certain things like that. Start making those necessary conversations now. Now, another thing I want to encourage you folks, review your business insurance policy. You should have business insurance. Review your policy. Now, I'm not an insurance agent or an insurance broker, but typically there's a clause on there about business interruption or disaster recovery, right? You want to go ahead and pull that out and review that. Now, if you find yourself in a position, folks, where you fall victim to the business, let's say you're a hairstylist and you've got your own hair salon. I've got a lot of hair salon clients, right? If you fall victim to the virus and you have to be quarantined and you can't run your business, one of the decisions that I made for you as your accounting firm is that I've got you on unemployment insurance. So pretty much every quarter when I filed your payroll taxes, I included you as a normal employee. I don't have to, but I included you as a normal employee. You paid the tax on it. So here's the way how you can navigate through this. Number one, if you cannot work, and you're an employee of your company, we're going to go ahead and file an unemployment claim for you so you can start getting a check immediately. Number two, if you've got short-term disability insurance, you want to go ahead and start reviewing that short-term disability insurance policy and reach out to the insurance agency because if you've contracted the virus or you're quarantined or you're having symptoms. So number two, you want to look at your short-term disability insurance policy. And number three, like I said, definitely pull out your business insurance policy for the disaster recovery. So that puts you in a position where you've got 3 streams of income, right? If you have the proper insurance in place. You definitely want to make sure you get with your insurance agent. I'm not an insurance broker or insurance agent. I have to say that for disclaimer insurance purposes. But you definitely have got 3 ways that you can get a check between the unemployment insurance. I can definitely help you with that. Looking at your disaster recovery clauses in your policies and also your short-term disability insurance. All right. All right. Last but not least, additional guidance is going to be coming out, issued in the coming weeks regarding the Paid and Sick Leave Act. We covered that. Now, just to give you a little fun, I do not know when you're going to get the $1,000 check in the mail. All right. You're talking about, every adult is going to get a check in the mail for $1,000, $500 per child. I do not know. There's been some legislation passed on that. Regarding that, I do not know when that's going to be coming out. I just want to let you know that real briefly. All right, questions. Let's see, questions. If you got questions, go ahead and put the questions in the chat box. I'm going to sit here and take a couple questions. What questions do we have here? Oh, nonprofits. Okay. Nonprofit organizations. So the filing deadline for nonprofit organizations, the 990, is still May 15th. If you need additional time, we can definitely file an extension for you, but no guidance has been issued for nonprofit organizations. All right. Any other questions? Any other questions? Put those questions in the chat box. I'll do my best to answer those questions for you. Any other questions? All right, one person said they can't hear anything. I didn't see that earlier. Sorry. All right, so we got no questions there. No other questions. Go ahead and wrap up. I'm gonna go ahead and put a link right here in the chat box. If you want to definitely have a call, because everyone's situation is different. Everyone's situation is different. I'm gonna go ahead and put this link in the chat box. Let's go ahead and set up a call. So if you want to definitely set up a call and talk about your particular situation. Oops, we got a question that came up in the chat box. Let's put that in there. If you want to set up a call, you can definitely click that link to the calendar. It links directly to my calendar. You'll be able to set up a call. We can talk about your particular situation. We got a question that came up from Miss Monica. Miss Monica from Atlanta is asking, so to get state filed, we just have to do it since it doesn't require much. Yeah, so we need to file an extension. You'll need to file an extension. If you want to get the state extension, if you want more time, if you want to, file in June or, early July, let me know. We're going to file an extension for the state. Just let me know about that. Another question that came up from Miss Debbie. Miss Debbie from Covington is asking, is there any relief for 1099 business owners? No, there's no relief right now for the 1099 business owners regards to filing. The only relief that they have is the SBA loans. That's the only option. There's some working capital loans here, and I've got something here I could put in the chat with the relief. So if you're a 1099 contractor, let me see here. I've got a link. I'm going to put this link in here from the SBA. Let me go ahead and forward that. So that goes to the question that you asked about the 1099 contractors relief for them. Any other questions? Got a few more minutes here as we wrap up. Let me make sure I put that. Okay, paid sick leave. So let me get, that's Alan from Ackworth, Georgia. I hope I said that correctly, Ackworth, Georgia. Alan's asking, paid sick leave credit is $511 per day per employee. Yes, per employee up to $5,110. So yeah, if one of your employees contracts the virus and you have the cash flow, you can pay them, that will be reimbursed. That will be reimbursed back to you. I'm not sure of the timing. Hold on, I'm trying to get this COVID. I'm going to put this link in here for the SBA loans. But that's correct. So the paid sick leave is $511 up to $511 per day. So whatever that employee's salary is or something like that, times that by their hourly rate. That's the best way to get to it. Break it down to the hourly rate, and it's $511 per day. So here's the thing. You've got $5,110 that you can use per employee. So you don't have to use the entire thing here. And I think I've got the email coming in here with the SBA loans. They're working capital loans. They're low interest working capital loans. All right, here we go. We got it. All right, let me put this in the chat here for you. Oops. If you're trying to get an SBA loan here. All right, perfect. That's the link. That's the link to low interest loans. And folks, definitely, as we wrap up here, folks, I definitely want to